Welcome back to Fifth Jack Gaming. And if this is your first time, welcome to the channel. We end up cracking Magic the Gathering cards, and then we also have deck techs, cover into the comic books as well, covering our regular pull, and then we also have Amis that we end up going in depth with, and what we end up getting as a haul. If that's something that you're interested into, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to be notified about either of that future content. With that said, we got 3 packs of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. As I say, these are the set boosters, so that means that it has 12 cards, an art card, a foil, and a chance to have a card that's off the list or out of the commander deck. Something fun that we end up doing is we try to judge which pack is the best pack that we end up opening up. If you think that there's a better card or you think a different pack is, put it down in the comments down below and let us know why you think that. So without further ado, let's dive in. Coming around to the first pack, we're going to see what we end up packing opening here. Alright, here's the art card. That's the Gift of Wrath from Itis. It's number 11 out of 81. Basic Island. Moon Circuit Hacker. Costs us 1 and a blue. For a human ninja. Has a 2/1 body. Has ninjutsu. So something unique about ninjutsu is when you have an unblocked creature, you can pay this creature's ninjutsu cost and have that creature bounce, or have the creature that is unblocked bounce back to your hand, and this card will go in its place doing that damage instead. And most of the cards end up having a nice effect like this one does. This one says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Unless Hacker enters the battlefield this turn. So when it first comes into play, boop boop, you get to draw a card once it does the damage. But since it just came into play, you don't have to discard a card. Any other turn, you would have to discard a card. And then you have a Juku Preserver. Costs us 3 and a green for a human druid. It's a 3/3 body. And when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control. Has this little mechanic called Channel. So that means we could discard it for the mana cost of whatever it is. For the channel cost, I should say. And get the desired effect from it. So when we discard this card, we get to put a +1/+1 counter onto each of up to 2 target creatures you control. Aki Ronin costs us 1 and a red for a Goblin Samurai. It's a 1/3 body. And then whenever a Samurai or a Warrior you control attacks alone, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And then we have Experimental Synthesizer. Costs us 1 red for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. And then you can pay 2, a red, sacrifice it, and create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with vigilance. Activate this only as a sorcery. Imperial Oath costs us 5 and a white for a sorcery. We get to create 3 1 or 2/2 white samurai creature tokens with vigilance, and then we get to scry 3. Scry means we get to look at the top card of our library and or put it down at the bottom, or in this case we get to look at the top 3 cards and decide if we want to keep them on top or put them at the bottom. It's all up to us. And then we have as our first uncommon, it's Replicate Specialist. Costs us 4 and a blue for Moonfolk's Artificer. It's a 3/4 body, flying, and then whenever a non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1 and a blue. If you do, create a token copy of that artifact. Some good old copying shenanigans. Enthusiastic Merchant, not Merchant, It costs a red and a blue for a Goblin Artificer. That's a 2/2. As flying, artifacts spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Make it a little bit cheaper. So we could end up playing our Patchwork Automaton. It costs us 2 for a construct as a 1/1 body. War 2, so that means if our opponents went to go target it, it costs us 2 to be able to target it. And then whenever you cast an artifact spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Patchwork Automaton. And then we have this little saga right here, which is something unique. It ends up going through all these different steps. So this is the Tales of Master Shuro. Costs us 4 and a green. At the first step and the second step, we end up putting a +1/+1 counter on a target creature or vehicle you control. It gains vigilance until end of turn. Then at the third step, it flips and transforms into Shuro's Living Legacy. It's a 5/5, has vigilance and haste. That means it can attack the turn that it ends up flipping. And then our rare is a Mirror Box. Costs us 3 for an artifact. The legendary rule does not apply to permanents you control. Each legendary creature you control gets a +1/+1. Each non-token creature you control gets a +1/+1 for each other creature you control with the same name as that creature. So the cloning shenanigans, go ahead, clone your legendaries. It doesn't matter with this guy. And then the foil is the Modern Age. Costs us 1 and a blue. At the first and second one, we get to draw a card and then discard a card. And at the third one, it flips over into the Vector Guider. It's a spirit, is a 2/3 body, and it's flying. And the last card is a construct. It's a 1/1 construct. Woohoo! Well, obviously, it's an easy case for being the best pack so far, because it's the only pack. Let's see if number 2 has something to say about that, though. Come on, pack 2. Art card. Bamboo Grove Archer by Steve Prescott. Number 20 out of 81. And then we have Dismal Backwater. It's a land, enters the battlefield tapped, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Taps, add a black or blue. Nizami Blade Blesser costs us 2 and a black. For a Rat Samurai, it's a 3/2. And Nizami Blade Master has Death Touch as long as we control an artifact. And if we control an enchantment, it has Menace. Menace only can be blocked by 2 or more creatures. Or the big joke is Menace. Say it's a special little border that they have for this card. The next one is the Futurist Operative. Costs us 3 and a blue. For a Human Ninja, that's a 3/4. As long as it's tapped, it's a human citizens with a base power and toughness of a 1/1 can't be blocked. Pay 2 and a blue to untap it. Untapping shenanigans. You could short circuit that plan. Costs us 1 and a blue for an enchantment that has flash, enchant artifact, or creature. As long as the enchantment permanent is a creature, it gets -3, -0, and loses flying. And then we have Disruption Protocol. Costs us 2 blue for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, tap an untapped artifact you control, or pay 1. Counter a target spell. Nice! I kind of like that. It's not too shabby. I mean, I don't really care for blue, but that's kind of neat. Alright, so we have a Brute Suit. Costs us 3. Vehicle, that's a 4/3. Has vigilance, and then the crew 1. So that means it has to have a creature that has a power toughness of 1 to be able to accrue it, to be able to use it or activate it. So something big with that, though, is this has to be out there for one turn before you can end up using it. And then whenever you play that creature, let's say we had this out for the last turn, and then we play a creature that's a 1/1, you can immediately use that 1/1 to be able to accrue this. So some shenanigans that comes on behind it. And then our first uncommon is Roadside Revelry. It can tap for a colorless, or you could pay 2 and sacrifice it. Draw a card if your opponent controls an artifact. Draw a card if you control an enchantment. Interesting. Then we have Goshana of the Shared Purpose. Costs 3 and a white for a legendary enchantment creature shrine. So it's legendary, so it could be a commander. Wouldn't be the best, but hey. As a 1/3 body, at the beginning of your end step, if you may pay 1. If you do, you get to create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token for each shrine that you control. That's why I said it wouldn't be the best. But there is a shrine commander, so that could be pretty fun. And then we have a Saga, the Long Reach of Night. Costs 3 and a black. And then at the first one, each opponent sacrifices a creature unless they discard a card. That's also at the second one. And then we exile it, and it becomes Animus of Night's Reach. The spirit is a 0/4, has menace. And then whenever it attacks, it gets +X/+O until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards the defending player has in their graveyard. Interesting. Ooh, that's a fancy one. Sarajuka Visionary costs 1 and a green. It's a legendary enchantment creature snake druid. It's a 1/3. You can pay 1 and a green, tap it, return it to our hand, and then reveal the top 4 cards of our library, and we may play a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. And then put the rest into the graveyard. And then it also has channel where we could pay X and X and 2 green, discard it, return X target non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. There's definitely some interesting art with that. And then we have Lizard Blades. Costs us 1 and a red for an equipment lizard. Double strike. Equipped creature has double strike. And it has a reconfigure of 2. It's a 1/1 body. Interesting rare. And then we have a foil Reckner Shakedown. Costs us 2 and a black for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, that player discards that card. If you don't, put 2 +1/+1 counters on a target creature or vehicle you control. And the final card is a 3/1 Haste Construct token. Well, I have to say, Pack 2 definitely came with the noise and dethroned Pack 1 as being the best pack so far. But Pack 2 still has the challenger of Pack 3. Let's see if it still stands up. Alright, there's the full art. We're going to flip her on over. And then Smoke Spirit's Aid. Earth of Voth. Number 41 out of 81. A foil Swamp. The Rootsidal Walker costs us 4 and 2 black for a 5/5 Ogre Ninja that is Ninjutsu of 3 and a black. Simeon Sling costs us 1 red for a 1/1. It's an equipment monkey. Use equipment monkey. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, and whenever the sling or equipped creature becomes blocked, it deals 1 damage to the defending player. Reconfigure of 2. Angel's Emplar costs us 1 and a white for a human samurai that's a 2/1. And whenever a samurai or a warrior you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And then we have the Seven-Tail Mentor. Costs us 3 and a white for a Fox Samurai. It's a 2/3 body. And whenever it enters the battlefield or dies, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature or vehicle you control. Dragonfly Suit costs us 2 and a white for a vehicle. It's a 3/2 body, flying, and crew 1. First uncommon is going to be a Web Spinner Cluff. Costs us 2 and a green. For Equipment Spider, it's a 1/4 body, has reach. Equipped creature gets +1/+4 and has reach. Reconfigure cost of 4. Tashari's Guide bot costs us 4 for a construct as a 2/1 body. And when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control. Pay 4, tap, and draw a card. Activate this ability 1 less for each modified creature that you control. So a modified creature is to have equipment, auras, or counters on it. And then we have the Aura of Enlightenment. Costs us 1 and a white. It's a saga, so at the first one we get to scry 2. At the second one, you gain 2 life. And at the third one, we exile it, and it becomes the Hand of Enlightenment. It's a 2/2 human monk who has first strike. And it looks like that we have our first card that came out of the commander decks. Kami of the Fractured Calm. Costs us 2, a red and a green. It's a legendary spirit. So that means it could be your commander. It's a mythic rare that's a 3/3. And then at the beginning of your end step, goad each creature your opponent controls that's enchanted by an aura you control. Put a +1/+1 counter on aura, the Fractured Calm, for each creature goaded this way. Oh snap. And then our rare is the Sanju Seat of the Empire. It's a legendary land. It taps to add a white, or it has channel. You could discard it for a white and 2. And the Seat of the Empire, it deals 4 damage to a target attacking or blocking creature. This ability costs us 1 less to activate for each legendary you control. And then we have a foily rare, Ruthless Technomancer. Costs us 3 and a black. For a human wizard that's a 2/4 body. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature you control. If you do, create a number of treasure tokens equal to that power of that creature. Pay 2 and a black, sacrifice X amount of artifacts, return a target creature with a power of X or less from your graveyard to your battlefield. X cannot be 0. And then the final card is a flip card. Wowzers, wowzers. Talking about kicking down the door. I have to say, having the little mythic card ended up making and pushing over to the third pack, because it's definitely a little bit interesting. What do you think about it? Put it down in the comments down below. Is there anything that you're looking for? Let us know down in the comments down below. And if you're liking the content that we're putting out, like, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon to be notified about any of our future content. Thank you for watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.